We never wanted to compete on price. We never wanted to be the cheapest because someone can always go $1 less. Because then what are you going to do? Now you're racing to the bottom.
So why even worry?
Even worry about it?
This episode of the Late Night Startup Show, we were speaking with Stephanie of the Moxie Maids. Stephanie went to college, earned her MBA, and went and got that 9-to-5 in corporate America, making a killer salary, but had that itch of entrepreneurship. And now she went from MBA to entrepreneur. But how did she do it is the question. And she talked about the lifestyle change, how she had to scale back, sell a car, not buy the bigger house, not worry about what people thought, not about going to the concerts with a girlfriend. She had to say no to those things. We got into some incredible conversation about college. Is college important? Why is college important? Why isn't it? We talked about scaling back, changing the lifestyle, and we talked about technology in the cleaning business and how it's kind of changing the maid business. And she's just doing an incredible job. She's been in the maid business, the Moxie Maids, for about 2 years, and she's doing an incredible job growing and navigating that business and using her college education to help her grow that business. And she's doing a great job at it. So I hope you enjoy the conversations. But before we get into it, of course, we have to thank our sponsors, RCR Video Marketing Group, an Atlanta-based multifaceted video production company creating compelling content to fast forward your business, and Digits in Motion. You've heard me say it time and time again. Digits in Motion does great work with websites and app development. If you need a website or an app developed for your business, contact Rob with Digits in Motion today. Now let's get into the conversation with Stephanie. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining me on your birthday, by the way.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm 39
happy
today. In my last year of my 30s, so I'm going to live it up.
Live it up. There you go. Well, I automatically respect you a little extra just for actually just embracing your age and saying it.
No, hey, it is what it is.
Why is it that age is such a off topic? Like no one wants to talk about it?
I don't know, because it's just like, I think aging is great. I don't know why people keep it a secret. I don't know if that's a woman thing. I think men are kind of upfront with it.
Yeah.
But women are kind of like, I don't want to tell anybody my age. I'm like, why not? Yeah. You should be proud.
I don't want to tell anybody my age.
Yeah. Ray never tells anyone his age. And I have finally gotten to a point where I'm like, screw it. I slip up too much anyway because I just talk too much.
Yeah.
So eventually, if I talk to you long enough, I'm usually going to slip up and say my age anyway. But we started doing video production when we were fairly young when we've known each other for a while, and then we decided to make it a business and skip college and all that. So we stopped telling people our age because we automatically, people would just be like, oh, you guys are just kind of new,
you're
just
kind of
starting
young
out,
kids or something like that.
You're still college age.
Yeah.
So we stopped telling people our age.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna be honest, I would outright lie about my age sometimes when people would ask me I don't know, probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
I would be like, oh, I'm 30.
Yeah.
And I've had a receding hairline since I was very young. So
you were able to pull it off.
I was able to pull it off. Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess for discrimination purposes, I guess
Ageism.
people,
it's a
people
real thing.
I don't want to trust a 21-year-old kid with, something.
Exactly.
So I can understand that.
And now you got major corporations hiring nothing but millennials because it's the way that every industry is going.
Everything's going that way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just waiting for my beard to go kind of gray.
Yeah.
Everyone else is my dad used to dye his beard when it would go gray. And I'm like, man, I can't wait for mine to go gray.
I love that look. It looks very distinguished.
Exactly.
You have that Anderson Cooper type of a feel.
Yeah.
Go with it.
Yeah, that salt and pepper look.
That salt and pepper look. I love it.
It's so sexy with George Clooney.
I know. He made it popular.
I'm about to be the bald salt and pepper beard guy. But anyway, once again, thank you for coming here on your birthday.
Yeah.
And I want to get into your business and how you got started and what gave you the inspiration to start. As you know, the whole idea behind this show is kind of to inspire those entrepreneurs that are hesitant to start, that are kind of scared and intimidated by the business. Yeah, it's I feel like I'm there almost every week.
Every day, every hour.
day, it's a new struggle.
Yeah.
So Moxie Maids, tell me the genesis of Moxie Maids.
So Moxie Maids is a cleaning company that allows you to book cleaning at any time in the morning when you're coming home from work in your bed. You say, hey, my kitchen is kind of nasty. Let me go ahead and hire a cleaning service. So you can do it online. So you can go onto our website, themoxiemaids.com, and we have online scheduling. So you can say, hey, I need cleaning Monday, 8:00. I'm not going to be home. Here's my access code, or I'm going to leave the key under the mat. You can tell us everything online, and you book us and we'll send a cleaner. You can enter your credit card information securely.
Okay.
And then after the cleaning, we'll send you an invoice and your cleaning will be good to go. And you can put it on repeat. I want it every week, every month.
Okay.
Pretty easy.
So kind of, you can essentially create a subscription service.
If that's what you would like, yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So did you just get kind of fed up cleaning? It was like, you know what, I'm going to hire other people to do this.
Not really. And so how it came out of, I mean, I had, like, I think one time years ago, I think I had, when I was really busy, I was living in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo, and I hired like, Mary Maids or something like that just once. I didn't love the experience, but I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I can, if I need help, I can do that.
Yeah.
But what really happened was my boyfriend, husband at the time, we were in the process of moving in together. We were both living kind of in Midtown. I was in
Wait, was he your boyfriend at the time?
He was my boyfriend at the time, husband now.
Gotcha.
And so we were getting ready to move in. So he was moving from Midtown to my 04th Ward apartment. And we were both working. And he's like, typical guy, typical bachelor pad. Like, I have to get out of my apartment. I want to, get my, I want to have to pay any money. So, can you clean it up? I'm like, I can't clean it up. I'm busy. So he's like, well, maybe we could just hire someone to, clean it up. So I said, that's probably the best bet. So I went to Thumbtack. And I'm not sure if you guys ever used it.
No.
But it's kind of a weird process. You put in your information, you say, hey, I need, someone to clean out. And then you get like all these bids. So like cleaners get the information and then they like bid on your service. So I got like, 15 to 20 emails from like all these different cleaners. And I'm like, oh gosh, like I don't know who to pick. Yeah. I don't know kind of what to do. So I picked this lady. Her name is Elaine. She was really great. And so, but then when I met her, I had to kind of like figure out where we were going to meet, what time we were going to meet. Like this was all kind of like over text. And then when she got to the place, I didn't know it was her. I walked up to the wrong person, said, hey, are you my cleaner?
Gotcha, yeah.
And then she only accepted cash. Then I had like I never carry cash, right? So I had to kind of go around to the ATM, get cash. And then when she was done, kind of had like come back, lock up. So it was just kind of weird. I'm like, it's a lot of work.
It sounds inconvenient.
It was very inconvenient to hire a cleaning service. So even then, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought, okay, that's just how things go. I don't really use a cleaning service that often, but that's kind of strange. So that's kind of where that's where my experience was. And then I hired her again because I had her information when my husband and I were getting ready to move out of our apartment into our new home. And it was a little bit easier because I had a relationship with her.
Yeah.
And so as far as business, I really wasn't happy in corporate America. Okay. And my husband was like, well, maybe we should try our own business. And I wasn't one like, let's try to think of something new and grand. Let's think of the next Facebook. Like I'm not that type of person.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's think of something that already exists that can be better.
Yep.
And we just started thinking, I was like, remember that time we had that cleaning lady? That was kind of strange. Maybe there's something we could do to kind of make that process better.
Gotcha.
And so that's kind of how the Moxie Maids came about.
So from the time that she came in and cleaned the apartment to you guys saying, why don't we create something a little better? What was the time between that?
I would probably say maybe about 6 months or so.
Really?
It wasn't because I still had her information and all that stuff. So, and when I called her, she remembered me. I'm like, hey, you remember me? So it wasn't that long. Okay. And I was already at that time I kind of was over corporate America at that time, but being someone who, I think that kind of gift and the curse of education, when you have a lot of education, you're thinking this is the track. You go to school, you get your degree, you get your MBA, you go to work.
Yeah.
And that's what I was planning on doing.
Yeah.
So when I was getting frustrated with that, I'm like, this is weird because this is what I kind of have to do.
Yeah.
So when the entrepreneurship kind of started coming about, I wasn't comfortable with that. My husband was. He's more of that free spirit.
Did he go to school too, though?
Yeah, so he has his MBA as well, but he still has. But he got his MBA kind of later in life, and I got mine super early. So I was already on that MBA track super quick.
Gotcha.
So I wasn't comfortable with that.
Yeah,
I was like, I still have to work, and so the plan was, well, we'll both work and then kind of do Moxie Maids on the side and see what happens. So that's kind of what we did. We both worked and did Moxie Maids on the side.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where the name of the show came out of, the Late Night Startup Shows. Because I was like, any side business that you're trying to make your full-time job is usually between the hours of like 7 p.m. and 2 a.m. and on the weekends. So I was like, the Late Night Startup Show. That's where all these side hustles become full-time.
And that's what we did. We were like, after we got off from work, we would kind of figure like, okay, like, what do we need? Okay, we need a website. We need things to be easy. So what can we do? So trying to find all this stuff to kind of make the process seamless to what I would have wanted when I was ordering a cleaning service.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so, but the difficulty was most of the cleaning is done during the day. So I'm at work at that time. So you have cleaners and clients calling you, making sure everything goes well, and I'm at work.
Yeah.
So then that's when it became difficult.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So to me, honestly, 6 months seems like a long time from, I feel like most people would go through something like, oh, I can make this a better business idea. Like within a day or two of that happening, and you guys 6 months later revisited it. So was it constantly kind of on your mind, or when you guys sat down to come up with a business idea, you just were like, oh, remember that one time?
I think for me, I was a hurdle because entrepreneurship wasn't something that was super natural for me.
Okay.
I knew I didn't like where I was, but I just didn't really think that entrepreneurship was the answer.
Gotcha.
Per se.
Yeah.
So I think that's what took so long, because my husband's like, well, if you're not going to work, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I don't know. So he's like, you're going to have to figure out a way to make your own money.
Yeah.
But just entrepreneurship for some reason just it didn't come like that. That's the answer, like for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't born that way. There's no real like entrepreneurs in my family. My dad worked for Xerox for 35 years and retired. That's kind of like, that was our family. That was our thing.
Yeah.
So for me to not work and be an entrepreneur seems very strange.
Yeah.
So I think that was a hurdle, the mind shift for me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with my family. There's no like real entrepreneurs in my family. Yeah. Incredible hard workers in my family.
Very much so.
But no like real entrepreneur that I was close to. I mean, like my grandfather owned several businesses, but unfortunately he passed when I was like 7 or 8 years old. So I didn't really get, I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was at the time.
Exactly.
I was still playing with like Tonka trucks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's funny because I feel like most people just know, like who have that entrepreneurship itch, they know that it's there.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to execute, or they get intimidated.
Yeah.
Versus with you, it's a little different because it's like it was almost like you had an itch, but you didn't know what the itch was.
Right. I knew corporate America wasn't going to, like at that time I probably was like, mid 30s. So retirement is a long way away. Right. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, if I'm unhappy now, I can't do another 20, 30 years. Like that's going to be ridiculous. Yeah. But it still just took me a while to kind of make that leap still. Like even when we launched the company and I was still working, my husband was like, we were both working. He's like, you should leave your job because you're kind of doing the day to day. I was kind of understanding the back end and the website. Yeah. That you should be the one to leave. It took me months to still leave my job, even though I didn't like it, even though I knew like Moxie Maids could have better legs if I was there full time. I couldn't do it. Yeah. So it would be like every day, he's like, did you give your boss your 2-week resignation? Couldn't do it. Yeah. Oh, I would make an excuse. Oh, we were in a meeting today. It was just a very bad day to do it today. Now, did you turn in your notice? Oh, not today. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Like I was like paralyzed with fear. I couldn't do it because I think for me, you become addicted to that paycheck. Yeah. And I've always had a paycheck. And since graduating, I've always kind of had a good job. Yeah. Benefits. I was able to travel. I was at the time single with no kids. It's hard to give that up to what? I don't know. What if I quit my job and everyone stops calling me? Now what do I do? Yeah. That mindset and that hurdle, I think stops so many people. Yeah.
I think so too, because I mean, if you were to sit down and write down a pros and cons list of staying at your corporate America job or going into full-time entrepreneurship, I would assume there's going to be way more pros on the stay at the job because, like you said, there's benefits, the health insurance, 401k packages, a full-time salary, a guaranteed salary.
Guaranteed.
There's that security blanket.
Yes.
And there's automatically, I'm assuming if it was a big corporation, there's like room to, I was about to say room to improve, but for promotion.
Advance,
advance and stuff like that. And then you look at, all right, well, what are the pros to jumping in entrepreneurship? Like,
not too many.
Is there a single pro?
Right.
For a real entrepreneur, because I remember when I first went full time, I mean, even my wife, then girlfriend, and my mom, they were like, why? You have a set salary. You're getting paid. I was getting paid every single week.
Yeah, that's a blessing there.
Yeah, my health insurance was free, and I'm a type 1 diabetic too. So like,
so that's super important to you.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I can't do it. I can't work for anyone else for some reason. I just can't. I cannot do it.
You can't do it. And I think that. And I think what kind of gave me more confidence is every day I was going back to the job, I was just feeling bad about myself. I'm like, why can't you do this? You hate coming here. And not just that, I looked around, like you said, advancement. And so I kind of looked around and saw how other people looked like their lives were living that were kind of in a higher position. And I'm like, I don't want to live that life. I don't want to.
Well, what did their life look like to you?
It looked like they were dedicating their whole life to that job. And for me, if I'm going to dedicate my whole life to something, I want to have ownership of it, right? Yeah. Because I've worked for like other companies. I've been laid off, right? That happens. So what do you tell somebody who's been working for a company for years and years and years, today is your last day?
Yeah.
And you get, like a severance package? Yeah. That's not a whole lot, right? If you've been working there for like 10, 20 years and you've given up weekends, time with your kids or something like that. Yeah. So I saw how much work it demanded from them. And if I was going to work that hard, I wanted to own something. Yeah. That made the most sense to me. So what I kind of wanted to do was look at my life like a lifestyle design. How did I want my life to look instinctively, right? I want to be able to spend time with my family. I want to have some freedom. I don't want to have to ask someone, can I go on vacation? Can I go to the doctor's office? Like that's kind of crazy to me. Yeah. So I kind of looked at that and said, this is kind of what I want my life to look like. A lot of pieces of corporate America doesn't fit that. So what can I do to kind of put my lifestyle first and kind of design a job around that? Okay. You know what I'm saying?
No, that makes sense. Because then that's the pros list to entrepreneurship.
That was my pros list because I saw so many people at work and I'm like, and I would ask like, well, what else do you want to do outside of work? And I don't know. I don't really know. I'm like, so like, this is it? Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, yeah. I mean, what else is there? Yeah. And that was like, I don't want to get down that path. Yeah. Because then once you get too far down that path, right, you have like mortgage and car payments and kids, you're trapped. Yeah. You cannot leave.
Well, it sounds like that's kind of what you guys did though. I mean, you had your boyfriend's apartment, now he's your husband, and then your apartment in Old Fourth Ward. Yeah. And then now you guys have a house. Yeah. And then you decided to go full-time Moxie Maid, right?
Yeah. And then, but everything was so strategic. Like we knew like, okay, we knew we were in the house. We were in the Old Fourth Ward. It was getting expensive, right? Old Fourth Ward is
that's where I live. I know. I know.
It was getting expensive.
Those property taxes.
Yeah, they're coming in strong. Yep. So, and we were going to buy. We loved Old Fourth Ward. I was telling him, and I'm like, we can't afford this. Yeah. Not for the life we're going to have to scale way down. So we both had a car. His car is a lot newer than mine. I had an older car. I'm like, we can go down to one. I don't need to get another car, right? Because if I'm going to be at home, there's no sense in me having another car, right? And so we pared down, sold my car. We moved into, an up and coming neighborhood, right? Being gentrified, not the best neighborhood, but we're able to get a nice, affordable home. So that way it doesn't take a whole lot of money for us to keep our lifestyle going.
Yeah, so but it's still a smart investment.
But still smart investment, right? So we kind of designed our life, again, lifestyle based on what we were going to be doing. We didn't want to have to be stuck to a job because, this mortgage is due and it's $3,000. Oh, we got 3 car payments, so we have to keep working. Or our kids are in private school, so I can't quit my job. So we wanted to be super lean, so that way we were able to take more risk. Yeah. And that risk, obviously, is entrepreneurship.
Yeah, totally. I mean, they say that, frugal living is a sign of intelligence. And yes. I think it really is. My wife and I, we live in about a 960 square foot condo in Old Fourth Ward. I mean, it's gone up about $30,000 in value since we moved in. Yeah. And it's, we're looking at buying on the west side and different places just for the investment purposes and stuff. But I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to buy a house with more space? And or should I continue to live small? even though, I mean, we're at a spot where we could probably afford it and, you know, make a wise investment. I'm like, I kind of enjoy living small. And like, I don't have all this excess space. Literally, the only room that we don't really use that much is our guest bedroom. Yeah. And even then, we put a bed in there that we can lift up and have all the storage up underneath. Yes. But all that to say, like, I feel like the beautiful thing is about these conversations is like I'm figuring out my own self during the conversations. Yeah. But I feel like I've kind of subconsciously like figured out my lifestyle to support entrepreneurship. Yes. And not trying to have entrepreneurship support unsustainable lifestyle.
That's so important. I think that's a number one reason. One of the number one reasons why a lot of entrepreneurs fail is because they don't have that lifestyle to match it. And you have to realize that for most entrepreneurs, right, you have to scale way back. Yeah. So that way you don't put so much pressure on your business to take off or to do things like that, because then you'll start making mistakes chasing the money to keep up with your lifestyle. Exactly. Right. So for us, we were able to turn down customers because we're like, I don't think this is going to be good long term. Yeah. But we can do that because our lifestyle is so lean that it makes sense for us to do that and make better decisions long term.
Yeah. I mean, I got chills from you saying that because I like preaching to the choir right there. I say that all the time.
It's so true. And look, it's not easy because, you know, there were certain things that I was able to do when I had a nice salary. I just cannot do anymore. You can't do it, right? Yeah. Like before I met my husband, I traveled South Africa, Croatia. You know, I went to see Beyonce in London. Like I was doing it, right? Yeah. Like I'm a Beyonce stan. And so now if my girlfriend's like, hey, you want to go see Beyonce in Paris? No. Yeah. Can't go. Yeah. And that's hard. That's something hard that you have to be willing to let go. Yeah. Because you have to think long term. Yeah. And you have to be able to say, okay, my husband has the car. I'm going to take Uber to all my appointments today.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah. And that reminds me of like, I always say I try to make every decision based off the long-term game versus a short-term gain. Yes. And when you get in over your head or you're trying to sustain a lifestyle that is too expensive for an entrepreneur, especially one just 2 years in. Yeah. And I mean, we've been around 5-6 years now. Yeah. Almost 8 years since we became an official LLC. Almost 8 years. And, yeah, I feel like I still am trying to live as frugal as possible. And my wife helps a ton on that. But it reminds me I came up with a saying a few years ago, and it was don't waste your sacrifices. And what I mean by that is like you saying, you know, you scaled everything back. You got rid of a car. You're not traveling as much anymore. You're not even going to like the Friday night dinner with girlfriends because you're an entrepreneur. And you got to realize that shit could hit the fan next week.
At any time. All of my clients could say, you know what? Screw you.
Found a new service.
Right, I found somebody else. Now what?
Now what? Exactly. So you're living very frugal and that's you're sacrificing so much of your own happiness, of your own experience and adventures. So when I say don't waste your sacrifices, meaning when the days do get hard and they do get extra longer, they do get scary, it's time to realize how much you have sacrificed and then be like, all right, I gotta step up to the plate and be the best at bat because I've sacrificed so much and I'm not about to let that go to waste. Yeah. And I don't think a lot of people think that way.
They don't. And I think that's going to be the major hurdle for people. And I think, and something else is kind of like on topic. I'm sure you guys watched the Netflix, documentary Minimalism.
Yep. And I just rewatched it literally 3 nights ago.
I can watch that like almost every day.
Did I not just tell you that I rewatched it?
It's crazy because that showed people how much shit you have that you don't need. Not even if you're trying to be like an entrepreneur or anything like that, but it definitely applies to entrepreneurship because you have so much that you don't need. Yeah. And like when my husband and I, we first were looking for a home. I'm glad we kind of got the light bulb. We looked at this like 5-bedroom, 4-bath home, and we were like, well, we can afford it. Like we can. And then we kind of thought like, but do we need all that space? It's the two of us. Yeah. Like, why do we need 5 bedrooms? Why do we need 4 bathrooms? Like that doesn't make sense. So many people just have an excess of so much stuff because I think it gives them, I think at Netflix kind of, or on the documentary, it kind of just gives you a sense of, I don't know, like power, or it kind of feeds into your ego.
I think it's an ego thing.
Yeah, right. It kind of feeds into your ego having all this stuff, but it doesn't mean much at the end of the day. Not long term, right? No. That new watch doesn't mean anything 10 years from now.
Exactly. And I think it's a lot of people that subconsciously are craving to be envied. And like, if you have people over and you have this fancy home, they're going to be like, oh, wow, you must be doing pretty well.
Look at that new TV.
They may not even say it, but them being in there, you feel like, oh, yeah, you realize what I got. You see it.
Yeah. You see this new TV. You see that new flat screen. You know I'm balling.
Exactly. Yeah. But meanwhile, if they walk into your 2-bedroom home or apartment and you're super happy, then there's a genuine moment and a genuine conversation and stuff like that. And it's just funny because people, why do people strive to kind of be envied and not to be happy for themselves?
Yeah, and I think I think it's always been there, but I think in this Instagram social media world, it's heightened, right? Because you can show everyone everything you're doing.
It's a highlight reel.
Right. Everything you have, everything you're doing. Like you see all these like fake entrepreneurs on Instagram.
Renting cars and stuff.
Lamborghinis. I'm at the beach with these whoever's and all this other stuff. And people get so caught up into that and don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, I think that documentary too that was on Netflix, The Fire Festival, that was such a scam. And people looked at this guy like he's this great entrepreneur. He
had it all.
He had it all. Behind the scenes, what did he have? He was a scam artist. Yeah. So I think people really have to just stop and really understand what they want and be willing to do the work. Nothing comes easy. All this, I can show you the secrets to multi-million dollars in 3 easy steps. There's no easy way to do this, right? There's no, take this pill and you can lose 60 pounds tomorrow. Yeah. Those don't exist. Yeah. People have to be willing to stop, sacrifice, and do the work. And most people aren't. So that's why most people are going to stay at that 9-to-5 job.
Yep, exactly. And the whole security blanket from a 9-to-5 is always an interesting conversation to me too, because it's one of those things, and this is what I've tried to explain to every new entrepreneur that I've ever talked to is that, entrepreneur that wants to start but is afraid to leave their 9-to-5 is you don't have any security blanket at that 9-to-5.
You don't.
Your supervisor and your boss or the CEO or the shareholders, they can rip that blanket off as fast as they can give it to you. But if you go into business for yourself and do your own thing, you may make substantially less money, but you're in charge of it.
Yes.
You then are in charge of whether you pull the security blanket up or you let it slide down.
Yes. And I know that I've been laid off before. Mm-hmm. So I've had that devastation of, especially when you don't have the entrepreneur mindset, I couldn't figure out, well, how do I make my own money? Like, I don't know. I have to get another job. And when someone takes that security blanket away from you, like you have 30 days and then you're going to have to, that's it. Yeah. That's very devastating for a lot of people because a lot of us weren't taught to make our own money. Mm-hmm. And once I got laid off once and then laid off twice, I always thought I never want someone to have that much power over me. Mm. Someone can say, this is how much you make. That's it. You make this amount of money. Yeah. And to do this, I want you to do X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. You have to do this in order to have this paycheck, right? And that means you have to dress a certain way. You better come to work and you better smile. Yeah. You better come to work and be very social. You better go to after hours events, right? Yeah. And then they can say anytime, well, that's it. Yeah. Your services are no longer needed. That's a lot of power for someone to have over you. Yeah. And while entrepreneurship is risky, you have the power though. I think that's one of the positives for entrepreneurship. Yeah. You are more in charge of your income, your say-so, how you think, how you dress, how you act. Yeah. You can dictate that.
Yep. Totally. And you can dictate your raises. I mean, imagine, I remember going into, when I worked my 9-to-5s, I remember going in and asking for a raise because I had shown the numbers. I've done all this extra hard work. Mm-hmm. And the boss is like, we're not really, we're scaling back. We're not giving raises out this year. Yeah. I'm like, well, I just did all this work. And meanwhile, the guy next to me who's been there 5 years longer than I gets a raise just because he's been there 5 years longer than I. Meanwhile, I'm pulling way more weight than he is and all that. But I mean, not trying to just completely belittle the 9-to-5 jobs because there's some really good companies out there.
There's great companies out there. And I always say entrepreneurship isn't for everyone.
It's not.
It's not for everyone. So if you have that itch,
it's for everyone to try.
It's for everyone to at least try.
Yeah.
But if you love your job, you're doing something, you absolutely loving it, you're going to work every day, it's giving you a great work-life balance, I say stick with it because it's not for everyone to kind of jump out on their own.
Yeah.
I would say though, even if you do have a 9 to 5, you should maybe still have something of your own because you just never know.
Never know.
And even if that great job and that company should fail or they scale back, you still want to have something on your own to kind of bridge that gap until maybe you find something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So when it sounds like leaving your 9 to 5 or getting laid off kind of breaks the cycle in your mind because you went through school and then you went through college and then you probably did more college and you have your master's and then you got your job, very well job, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna lay you off. Here's a 30 days notice to get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
and then your whole life has been just this is what you do. You go to school, get a degree, then you get the high paying job.
Yes.
And then when you get laid off, it's like, wait a minute.
That wasn't part of the plan.
They didn't tell me this part.
Right. When I signed the data, I wasn't a brochure. Like they didn't tell you that. And you don't have the skills, right? To kind of, well, what do I do? I get unemployment. And then like, what else? I kind of, let's look for another job. So it's very devastating for a lot of people.
So what about student loans though? Because I feel like a lot of students, I skipped college. I didn't go. I visited one college, Full Sail University in Orlando. It's a film school, and they told me how much it would cost to go there and live there. And I drove 6 hours back home that day. I was like, I'm
not for me.
Not going to a single college at all.
Yeah.
So I can make a pretty killer film for that amount of money.
Yeah.
And that was back when I was like way passionate about filmmaking, and now it's like entrepreneurship and business is my passion.
Yeah.
But anyway, crap, I forgot where I was going with that. I totally forgot where.
You said something about student loans.
Student loans, that's it. Yeah. So, you have someone in your shoes that more than likely has a lot of debt and student loans. And, would you suggest that person to start something on their own after they got laid off or to go to the next job because they have to make those payments, right? How was that scary or?
I mean, I think it kind of... It depends, right, on your financial situation.
Yeah.
So if I know some people who have a lot more student loan debt than I do. So it's like they have to keep working, I feel like. They're in no situation where you have to keep working. I was lucky that my student loan debt isn't as big as maybe someone else. So I was able to kind of take that leap and say I can still leave my job and still be okay. And I think one thing about student loans that's different than a lot of other debt, they're kind of forgiving, right? So you can kind of call them and kind of explain where you are, and they'll be like, okay, we'll work with you. Like, Bank of America isn't going to do that. Your mortgage is due no matter what you got going on.
Yeah.
So you can kind of call and kind of let them know what's going on. They may be willing to work with you and see what's the best offer you can get. Maybe lower your payments or maybe, take some time off from paying it. They'll let you do that. And then if they say, okay, 6 months, you can, not pay. And then in that 6 months, try to hustle up and try to see what you can do in that time.
Essentially, there's not an excuse not to try.
No, I mean, you can because that's what I did. Like I said, hey, I'm not working anymore. Like I was making this salary. You guys are taking out this amount of money every month. That can't happen now.
Yeah.
So what can we do? Yeah. And so that was that. Then I was able to say, okay, now I have some room and some leeway to kind of, I don't need that big salary as I once was because now I'm making some adjustments in my life. Yeah. So there's always a way. Definitely figure out that way to pull every lever before you just say, I can do it.
See, but I feel like that's where you're vastly different than the majority of people because you've said, I'm going to tell my girlfriends I can't go to the concerts. I'm going to call my student loan people and say, look, I'm making a lot less salary now, so we need to adjust something.
We need to talk,
Versus a lot of people would probably be like, if say all their girlfriends or even like my friends came around, like, man, we're going to go to Vegas for the weekend. You guys can come with us. And I would feel embarrassed to say no or to say no because I can't go because financial situation or this and that, but it seems like you don't have any embarrassment bone behind that, or have you just kind of ignore it? Or
I mean, I guess I kind of ignore it. I won't say it doesn't hurt. I mean, it hurts. Like, I won't pretend to say, oh, it's easy just for me to say, no, I'm not going to go. I don't want to go to, Brazil when you guys go. I'd rather stay here. Yeah. That isn't, I have my girlfriends are going on a trip, in a few months. I can't go. Yeah. And, I'll probably see the pictures on Facebook and be at my, my office sad. But you have to think long term. And I think I think a benefit for me is when I left, corporate America and went to entrepreneurship, I let my friends know and let them know like my life is going to change. And everybody's kind of been supportive of that.
Nice.
And so that kind of helps me. So I think you definitely have to have a support system, and you have to tell your friends and family, like, this is what I'm doing. My lifestyle is kind of going to change. So hoping you guys can like support me and work with me on certain things. So I think that helps me. And I think for a lot of people, just getting that support system around you.
Yeah. Is your husband still working full time?
Yeah. So the kind of agreement that we made was, hey, you kind of know this business. You stop working, I'll work. So again, I'm in a really good position because I don't have to worry about medical benefits. My husband still works, right? So we looked at that as, okay, we can kind of approach this two-pronged. He could be the W-2 guy, insurance guy, and then I can be the one on the side, like growing the business, and hopefully then that can take him out of work.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of how we approached it.
Yeah, that's good with staying on his health insurance. My wife is about to transition to a new job that actually offers health insurance. Her current job doesn't. And I'm like, thank God.
Yeah. And I know health insurance is such a big hurdle because
so
even
expensive.
with like before I met my husband, I kind of thought about, because again, I wasn't super happy with corporate America, but that was one of my hurdles because my mom is a nurse. So anytime I would mention something like that to her, she was like, what about health insurance?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a nurse. I see this all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're right. Like, she's right. Like, I can't, something can happen and it can bankrupt me.
Yeah.
And health insurance is such I think is one of the biggest hurdles for people, especially if you're not married or, you don't have someone that you can depend on. That's very scary, especially if you have like, already have an illness or something like that. That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
So did you have to save up a lot of money to start this, or were you kind of cash flowing it as you stayed at your corporate job?
Cash flowing as I stayed at my corporate job, because again, we were, I was making a pretty good salary, and again, no kids or anything like that. I didn't have I didn't have a car note for years. Yeah. So I had good
disposable
money flowing.
Income.
Yeah, disposable income to cash flow it. So we were able to, once we finally decided like, okay, we're going to do this. I think we said we had like a little whiteboard and we had like 30 days to launch. Like every day was like, okay, website. Yeah. Okay, we got to get the URL. Okay, now we got to do this.
You did all that in 30 days?
30 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You must have had a really good website guy.
Yeah, well, so I found this software. It's called Launch 27. Okay. And they kind of have almost everything laid out for you. You can buy kind of like a custom built website. Of course, you have to kind of like personalize it for yourself. Yeah. So we kind of had that. So we had some help along the way. Yeah. And then we were able to kind of like personalize it, set up the back end so that we, get a business account. So that way if people are, giving us their credit card information, it can kind of go through Stripe, connect to our bank account. Okay. We got all that kind of set up on the back end.
And all that's through Launch, what was it?
Launch 27.
I'm going to write that down because I have an app that I'm about to launch hopefully in the next... we've been developing it for like 2 years, so I was going to make a joke and say hopefully within the next 10 years.
Right. Century, hopefully within the next 15 years we're going to launch this thing.
But there's like... we're constantly thinking of new ideas and businesses, and even like just kind of rebranding and restructuring certain things. So, all right, I'm going to write it down. Launch 27. Launch 27. Good to know.
Yeah. And so that kind of came about because I was up one night and I was just like mind going, like, I got to get out of corporate America. What am I going to do? And I told my husband I wanted something. He's like, I'm not the one that's like looking to disrupt America, coming up with Instagram. Like, I'm not that girl. I told him I want something so easy. It's like toilet paper. Like, I want to have something that people just need and don't even think about, right? When you go to a grocery store, you need toilet paper, you don't think about it, you put it in the cart. I want something like so easy. And that's when we were like, when I went back to that thing about cleaning, I'm like, everybody needs cleaning. Yeah. Everybody, it's not sexy, right? It's not like this, whatever. Yeah. But it's a need. Like, I didn't want to go into like fashion and beauty, nothing wrong with those, but I wanted something that you just needed to have and you will be willing to pay to not do it. Yeah. Right. And so that's when I was like, that cleaning. So then I just was online. I read a Reddit post and this guy was like, I started a cleaning service and this is kind of what I did. And I showed it to my husband. I'm like, we're going to follow this 30 days. We're launching.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So you said we're going to do the cleaning service, and in 30 days we're going to have a new business.
Yeah, and that lady who was our cleaning lady who came cleaning my husband's house, she was our first contractor that we brought on. She still works with us today.
Okay. So yeah, you pay the cleaners as contractors, I
Correct.
assume, right? Okay.
Yes.
So let's say I get on your website and I schedule a cleaning, and I'm the person that's like, well, are you running background checks? Is this person going to steal items from my home? I assume there's a lot of paranoia in that world of letting kind of a stranger into your home to clean. So how do you guys combat that?
So we try to do we try to answer all those upfront hurdles or questions that people have right on the website. So we know that people are like, well, if I give you my credit card, like, how do I know it's secure? So we kind of answer that on the first page. Like, it's a secure website. It's back through Stripe. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah. We answer that right on the front page. All of our cleaners are background checked, which they are. All of them are vetted. I meet with them personally. My husband usually talks to them over the phone. I meet with them personally. We have them do a test cleaning either at our house or at a friend of ours house. Yeah. So we are meeting with every individual cleaner. So there's no stranger that I'm sending to your house.
So you really interview them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, a test cleaning, that's
oh, yes. Because when someone is good, that's very intimate, right?
Yeah.
When you're going into somebody's house, that's a very intimate experience. So for me, I'm not going to send anybody into a client's house that I wouldn't let into my house. Yeah. So we've had a lot of resumes, and I've seen them. They have really great resumes. I've met them in person, and I thought, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with you in my house. Yeah. You can probably clean well, but it's more than just cleaning. Yeah. It's an experience. It's a customer service thing. So it's just like even how you talk. Yeah. If a client saw you, how would they feel? Like all those things you have to come into play. So I make those decisions, and our cleaners do very, very well. Like the clients will call me like, oh, this cleaner was great. And sometimes our cleaners was like, hey, I tried to get out of the house. The customer wouldn't let me leave. They just wanted to talk to me all day because they have that rapport and they have that disposition. Yeah. And that's what I look for when I'm hiring cleaners.
So let's say that I hire, sorry if I'm putting you through the ringer here,
no problem.
Let's say I hire or I schedule a cleaning and the person shows up and they clean it in a great way. And then the next time another cleaner shows up and they do a good job, but things are just different. Yeah. Is there any like Moxie Maids standard of cleaning? So that way after my house is cleaned, whether it's by 5 different people, I know that it was a Moxie Maids service.
Yeah. So there's 2 things. So one, if you are a client of mine and you say, I want my house cleaned bi-weekly, right? And I'll send you a cleaner. If you like that person, the majority of the time, you get that same cleaner every time. Nice. Because I think we have a checklist. So we have a checklist. It's right on our website of everything that we clean. Okay. But everyone has a different style, right? It's kind of like cooking. We all have the same ingredients, but I can do something and could taste a little different. Yep. So I try to keep the same cleaners with the same clients all the time. And people really like that. The cleaners like it. The clients like it. The cleaners kind of get to know the house and you get to know the cleaner. So
builds that trust.
It builds that trust, right? So a lot of times our clients aren't even home because they're just like, hey, I know this person is coming. The concierge is going to let her in. She can come in and out. Just let me know when she's done. Okay. No problem.
So is it residential only right now?
No. So we have residential. We have some stores. Like we had a store in Buckhead. Oh, nice. And we do like some post-construction. So we have a post-construction clean coming up this Saturday. So a lot of times people who are like maybe like remodeling a basement or sometimes a real estate agent maybe like getting ready to sell a home and the contractor just left. They'll be like dusting stuff around the house. Yeah. So we'll come and clean that up.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah. My parents are remodeling their kitchen right now. And I think they're going to refinish their existing cabinets. Yep. And I guess the frame of all the cabinets, they're going to have to sand and all that in-house. Yeah. I'm like,
a lot of dust.
We built these shelves and everything in our studio, and I remember it was raining, and we decided to sand them inside. Yeah. What a mistake. Yeah. I mean, there was dust everywhere.
Oh yeah, we see it all the time. And so those type of things, that's when people really need help. Yeah. And then a lot of times, a lot of our customers who really need help are people with dogs. Like I have a dog myself. I know there's a dog around here. Yeah. Those are the people who like, if you have those dogs with a lot of fur everywhere, I mean, we have people, we have to come to their house like every other week because of just the dog fur. It's just too much.
And even if your dog doesn't shed that much, it can still, your dog's still going to smell. Yeah,
right.
Especially going into the spring and summertime, you're taking them outside more.
Yeah.
And dogs do sweat, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
So they get musty.
Yeah. And they have like the outside smell, like coming into the house.
Yeah.
So those are the type of things that people just kind of need help. And a lot of times, a lot of our customers, they're busy.
Yeah.
It's like, and I can understand that because I was that person. So for me, I think yes, we sell cleaning, but I think a lot of what we really sell is time because we give you that time back to spend with your husband or your wife or your kids or when I come home from work, I just want to sit on the couch and watch football all day.
Yeah.
I don't really want to think about my bathroom needs to be swept and mopped. So we can come and take care of that for you. So, you don't have to do those things. You can get back to doing what you really love to do. Yeah. Nobody really loves cleaning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, totally. Well, I've never met a person that actually loves cleaning. It's like even talking to people like you who are kind of in the business, they are in it more so for that, for saving time and setting someone up to spend more time with their kids and their wife and their spouse. It's not necessarily that you love cleaning. Yeah. You love what it gives to somebody else.
Yes. And it's so funny because like when we first started, we're like, okay, we're going to clean people's houses, not that big of a deal. But, after a clean, like I always, like we over communicate with our customers, right? Like we send them an email, we send them a text message. Like they never have to worry, like, where's the cleaner? Like we have all this down. Yeah. And at the end of the clean, I follow up and they're like, this cleaner changed my life. Yeah. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what went on? They're like, the way my house feels, the way my house smells, I just never thought like my house could feel this good. Yeah. And I never expected to get those type of responses. I'm just thinking like, hey, we're just going to come in and mop your bathroom. Yeah. But that means a lot to people who don't have the time to really like deep clean and all those things. And now you can step into your shower and it's like a total new experience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I carry a soft spot in my heart for any cleaner because it's, I guess that's the right phrase to say, right? Cleaner. My mom, when I was very young, she had her, I guess this is some sort of entrepreneurship I experienced in my life, but she had kind of her own cleaning service. But just, back then it was just word of mouth. There was no internet or like websites or anything like that. But she would have like the car magnets and like put her phone number and cleaning services on the car and drive around. And she got my dad worked, he brought in most of the money, but she hustled, man, and like went out there and it was just her by herself. She would walk in and I remember going to some of these houses with her and she would be carrying the vacuum and then all the buckets and cleaning stuff. And I mean, on our hands and knees, it is scrubbing. It is work.
It's work. And that's another thing too. Like when we were thinking about pricing, right? Like we know the value of cleaning. It's work, right? It's a lot of work. And the value that you get for that, we wanted to price that appropriately. Mm-hmm. Like we're not like the cheapest cleaning service out there. Like you can, get someone off the street to clean your whole house for $25. We're not that, but we know the value and the work that it takes to really get a house clean and what that can mean to someone who is busy, who has dogs, who has allergies, right? Yeah. Pollen season is coming up. What does that mean to get your house cleaned? Yeah. And we price appropriately for that because that's a lot of work. And these cleaners are doing a lot of work. Okay. A lot of work.
So when you were first starting out, did you say we need to be the cheapest? We need to beat everybody? Or have you always kind of had this mindset of we're going to be a notch above the cheapest because we know the service level that we're going to provide?
Yeah, we never wanted to compete on price. We never wanted to be the cheapest because someone can always go $1 less because then what are you going to do? Now you're racing to the bottom.
So why even worry about it?
So why even worry about it? So we knew the type of client that we wanted to have and we figured out through trial and error what they were willing to pay for that service and because people value cleaning differently. Some people don't value. Some people are like, what? You're going to charge this much to come to a house? I can do it myself. Okay,
then
great.
Do it yourself.
Then do it yourself. Yeah. You're not our customer. No problem. Yeah. But there are some people like, you're going to come to our house. I don't have to be here. I don't have to talk to you. I don't have to do anything. I can set this up all online and then you charge my credit card. I don't have to do anything. Yeah. I'm willing to pay for that. Yeah. Those are our customers. Yeah. The one that really need it and really need the convenience of it.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially new entrepreneurs just starting out, I don't think they realize that pricing is a critical part of their branding.
So critical.
And I say this to a lot of people in our industry, in the video production industry, because a lot of our, work colleagues, they, go work for different jobs and they're getting paid day rates. And people that are just starting out, I mean, they're freelancers and they want to get work. They're hungry, so they charge less. I'm like, the minute you charge less, you're going to get seen as that. Oh, this is a guy that's cheap that we can get to do anything.
He's the cheap guy, and that becomes your brand, right? Becomes your brand. He's the cheap guy, and it's hard to once you have that brand, it's hard to reverse that, right?
Yeah,
like Walmart is different than Target, right? That's the different brand. And you don't want to be the Walmart in certain cases, right? In certain cases, you don't want to be that.
Yeah.
So you have to really set, and that's hard. It's hard, right? And I think for us, it was hard because I know for us, for me, like I lowered my prices at the beginning. Like I knew what the price was, and somebody was like, "Oh, that's just way too expensive." And I'd be like, "Oh, maybe it is too expensive. Let me give them a deal." And those were typically our worst customers.
Yep, exactly.
And so I said, let me think long term and be willing to say, oh, this is too much. No problem. I'll wait for that next call.
Yeah.
And that other person will book.
Yeah.
Right. So I think you have to have the confidence to know, like, I'm not going to be the bargain basement. Somebody is going to be willing to pay for that service.
That's huge. Yeah. It definitely is a confidence play. And having confidence going into your pricing structure, that confidence plays into your brand as well.
It does.
That's something that people are not talking about, is how much your pricing structure plays into your branding.
It
really is everything.
It is everything. Your price communicates a lot about you. But another thing is, if you're priced a certain way, you have to be able to deliver, right? Yeah. So you don't want to price yourself high and then you can't deliver a high performance product.
You don't want to be the fire guy, the fire festival guy.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't want to be the fire guy to promise you the world, and then you get there, you get like a ham sandwich, right? Exactly. You don't want that. So we knew.
Was there ham?
I don't even know. It might have just been cheese, right?
Cheese. Yeah.
Exactly. So for us, like for me, I knew the type of experience that I wanted people to have because I wanted to have that type of experience. So I followed that from start to finish, right? When you land on our website, what does that experience look like? Is it easy? Is it functional? Like, if you have to book our cleaning service, is it easy? Is it easy for you to do? Enter your credit card. After that, when you enter your credit card, do you know what's going to happen? Yes. You get an email confirmation. Hey, this is what's going on. All throughout the time from when you book to when we come there, you're constantly getting emails from us like, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going on. The day of your cleaning, what does that look like? After your cleaning, what does that look like? When the cleaner is there, what does that look like? So I knew I was able to deliver probably better than some of the other cleaning services because I've used them. So I felt confident after a while, charging what I was charging because I knew I had a good product and I knew I was going to be able to sustain that delivery of that product each and every time.
So has anyone ever asked you, though, what's your experience in the cleaning business?
Like people who have called me or people who were just in general?
Just in general.
Yeah. I think when I told my friends, like, yeah, I'm going to start a cleaning service. Like why would you start a cleaning service? Like, you're not a cleaner. I'm not, but I understand the experience that I want somebody else to have.
You've essentially created a platform and a way for people who need cleaning to connect with very good cleaners.
That's it, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, like if you think about Uber, right? I think Travis was the CEO.
He was, yeah.
Right, he was.
I
don't think he, had a background in transportation, right? He was just a guy who
and that was their side hustle.
Right. He was just a guy who said, hey, I want to be able to get a car when I need it.
Yeah.
And this is the experience that I want to have. Yeah. So I'm going to create it.
Yeah.
And
it's funny because it's kind of selling the facade of convenience, not with Moxie Maids, but like with Uber.
Yeah.
You have these people in New York that will go call an Uber and wait 20 minutes for Uber to show up. Meanwhile, 20 taxis are going right
back
by
and forth. Exactly.
But it seems like a better service. It seems like a safer service. It seems a higher end.
Yeah.
It makes people feel better about themselves.
But again, it goes all back to your branding, right? So it goes back to, you got it. You have to be able to communicate what differentiates you and the value that you're getting, right? And Uber was able to do that, even especially with people in New York. Because I was just in New York not that long ago, and I took an Uber.
I Uber everywhere in New York. I don't think I've ever sat in a taxi in New York.
Right. And I think one time we did get a taxi because we were in a rush and the Uber was going to take too long. So we were like, forget it. Let's just take this taxi.
Yeah.
Right. But I think everything goes into that. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to, again, think long term and really think about all of that, the whole experience, the pricing, everything kind of has to be communicated because all of that says who you are, right?
Yeah.
Gucci charges a certain amount because they don't want Walmart customers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's their brand.
Yeah. Exactly. So how much have you adjusted though? Because it sounds like you came up with the idea and you envisioned kind of everything, the website from start to finish, the service from start to finish, exactly kind of what you were going to charge, how your brand and your service was going to be presented. Did you put stuff out there and start and then realize, okay, maybe the clients or the customers would like it this way? Have you adjusted at all? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of the things that we adjust a lot was the being custom, right? Being like a custom cleaning, right? Because not every cleaning fits all. So we didn't want to say like, hi, I'm Jim. I want a 1-bedroom, 1-bath cleaned, right? Well, Jim might want that, but Sally may say, well, when you come into my house, I also want you to do, I want you to dust my baseboard. I don't want a deep clean. I want a standard clean just to do my baseboards.
Yeah.
Or someone say, hey, I want a standard clean, but my oven needs to be clean. So we have those options on our site to where you can say, hey, I don't really want a full deep clean, but I want a standard clean. I can press a button that says, and then do my oven. Or say, hey, or some people may say, hey, I don't really know what I want you to get clean. Okay, we'll come in for a couple of hours. When we get there, you tell us what you want to have clean. So we have a lot of customization because that's what we were seeing from the customers when they were called. They're like, I want this, but not that. I want this, but maybe not that. Okay, we'll make that easy for you.
Yeah. Have you heard of Stitch Fix? It's
I have heard of that.
Yeah, they went public. Or I
feel like I listened to a YouTube or a podcast about them.
Probably. So Stitch Fix is a clothing brand essentially. So you can sign up and they send you shirts and jeans and all these like a certain amount of items. But it's one of those things to where the first time that you get the box in, you may have 4 out of the 5 items that you're like, not for me. But then you leave those notes and comments, ship all that stuff back. And then the next box is like, okay, half of the items fit me. And then you leave notes on the other. I kind of feel like that's what you guys are doing. Is you're able to be like, okay, I don't really know what all I need clean. And then over the course of, getting 3 or 4 cleaning services, you get to fine tune it, adjust it, and then get exactly
what you need. And I think when I was looking for cleaning service, it was kind of like, you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, we're going to come clean it. But there may be certain things that I don't want you to clean or extra things that I do want you to clean. I didn't kind of have that option, at least not on the website. And I don't like to call people all the time. I want to be able to do everything, maybe 2:00 in the morning. I need to be able to do everything on one centralized location, a booking form, and do all of that. So that's the adjustments that we made, kind of figuring out what do people want. Like, we added like garage. Like some people were like, hey, I want my house clean, but my garage has like cobwebs and it needs to be swept out. Okay, great. We'll add that to the site. You can get your home and then add on the garage, things like that.
Yeah. That's awesome. Kind of backtracking a little bit to college. Do you think college is necessary? I'm sure you've had this conversation a lot, but
I'm going to say this. I think I'm glad that I went to college, and not necessarily for the education per se. I think how I developed, right, going through college. Like for me, it was like the first time I was on my own. You're kind of like an adult. You're like, you don't have supervision. You might have to cook your own food, or you have to like, clean up after yourself.
Manage your time.
And manage your own time. No one's going to be there. I'm like, hey, get up for school. And then for me, the lifelong friendships that I made over the course of going to college. So I think I really became who I was in college, right? So for me, it was great. What I will say is that I wouldn't, if I was going back, if I had to tell a younger person, I wouldn't go broke going to college. I wouldn't say I have to go to this private Ivy League school because that's my only way to be successful. That's not true. And I think at least when I was growing up, like your school kind of dictated how successful you were going to be. I don't think that's true. I think you can go to like a small state school, right?
Yeah.
And not spend a ton of money, grow, develop, kind of figure out what you want to do, and then not have so much student loan debt.
Yeah.
That's what I would think.
So what is your opinion on online college?
I think from my understanding, I've never done online college. I think aren't they like really expensive?
I honestly don't know.
Oh, okay.
Do you know how
Because
expensive?
I think they're
Ray?
like private, and I don't
think that they're crazy expensive.
They're not?
I think
Okay.
that's kind of the selling point of them.
that they're not expensive. Okay. It wouldn't be for me.
Yeah.
Again, for me, I think what college does is puts you kind of like in. It kind of grows you up to be an adult.
Mhm.
And I think that experience for me when I was in undergrad put me into experience that I was around people that I've never seen before, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're in your own like town or your own city, you only are around people that you kind of know who grew up with you.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was kind of like my first experience to be around people of other cultures, other nationalities, just had different life experiences. And I think that's good and fundamental to your growth. And I think college kind of forces you to kind of interact with people that maybe that didn't live on your same street.
Yeah.
And I think that type of interaction is good. But again, just don't go broke trying to do that.
Yeah. I had a guy on the podcast recently, and he dropped out of college. I think he was like 2 years in or something. And he said it was a very tough conversation with his parents and all that stuff. And he was like, look, it's like he had the Hope Scholarship.
Yeah.
And he was like, it's like I got a really good coupon for something I don't want to buy.
Yeah.
And he said, the more money that you spend at college, that's money you're losing. You're not making any money at college, nor do you really have the time to make any substantial income unless you're like Mark Zuckerberg or somebody.
Exactly.
As soon as Facebook took off, he quit college, right? So,
yeah. I would tell people that it's not a prerequisite for being successful. And I think, at least when I was growing up, if you didn't go to college, you were like a loser.
Yeah.
Like that's just what it was. Like you're not going to go to college. Oh, you're going to work at like the local grocery store for the rest of your life because no one's going to give you a job. Because again, when I was growing up, entrepreneurship wasn't something that was really talked about. It was like, you have to get a job. And the only way to get a good job was to have a degree. I don't think it's the case anymore. I think you can create your own job and kind of get your own like MBA by learning how to, from the trials and errors of running a business. Like I have my MBA, but I think what I've learned in these past 2 years of running Moxie Maids has been the best MBA I've ever had because it's real life, it's practical. You're going to fall and take those bruises and learn, adjust, and go. And I don't think that's something you can get in a book.
So what was your degree in?
So my undergrad, it was always business. So my undergrad, it was in business. I majored in business and with a concentration in marketing, and same thing when I went to my MBA.
Okay, so there is some direct correlation between your school and what you're doing.
Yeah, so it's like I knew like I was always going to be in like the business field, but I just always thought it would just be at work for someone else.
Gotcha.
So I never was like, oh, I want to be like a dancer, and then I became, in business. I knew like I've always studied business through, undergrad in my graduate school.
So what's been your biggest obstacle or struggle so far with growing Moxie Maids?
I think really the mindset. I think really just having the confidence to fail, because a lot of times when you are entrepreneurship, sometimes you fail publicly and that can be hard, right? Because you can tell someone, hey, this is going to happen, and it may not happen. And people are like, well, what happened to that thing? You kind of have to like, oh, it didn't kind of work out. So sometimes in entrepreneurship, you fail publicly, and that can be a little embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
And then having the confidence to say, I'm going to turn down this client. I'm going to turn on this money because I don't think it's a good idea. That's kind of hard, that mindset, right? Because the entrepreneur, you don't really want to turn down money. And then just having the confidence to know when to let go of bad customers.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with that now. Like I'm looking at 2018 and looking at what customers are the best customers for our business. And I'm looking like, this is our sweet spot.
Yeah.
There are some customers that we don't like, they're not really a great customer for us.
They're just not going to be happy.
They're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
We have to, always go back, and it's taking our cleaners time from customers who we just hit it with them. They love it. So how do I let those customers go? That's tough because a lot of them, they interact with me.
Yeah.
So how do I have that conversation with them? Like, this isn't working out. That's tough. So those type of mental barriers for me have been the toughest, making those tough decisions of, even cleaners. Some cleaners I've really liked, but they're not working out. How do you make that? How do you have that conversation?
Yeah. So you talked about having confidence, but how do you get that confidence? It seems very natural for you.
It's not.
No? Well, you do a very good job at making it seem so natural.
No. And I'll say I have to give a lot of, why I haven't mentioned this a lot of credit to my husband.
Yeah.
Because there are many of nights that I will be crying because I can't make that decision. And it's tough. And my husband to say, you have to do it. You can do this. You can do this. Like, you have to make this decision. And I'm like, I'm not the one to do this. Like, there's been days where I'm like, let me go on Indeed.com. I'm going back to work because this is just too much. And he's like, no, you can do this. Make the tough call, do it, and move on.
Yeah.
And that, having that cheerleader for me has really helped my confidence, because if I was by myself, for sure, I don't think I would be able to do it.
Yeah.
Because those are tough calls.
Yeah. And I think that's super important, because I would say the same thing about my wife. She's been just so in my corner. And over the last couple of years, she became an executive assistant a couple of years ago. So like, she really understands like a business owner now. And she's been such a cheerleader in my corner and like keeping me accountable. And certain times where I'll be like, hey, it would just be easier for me to be a video producer working with someone else. And she's like,
that's why else figure it out. Yeah.
She's like, shut up. Like, go look at real hard in the mirror and tell yourself to shut up. Like, she'll literally say this to me. But there's, a lot of single entrepreneurs, but with those, it's like, find a mentor, find someone who's going to hold you accountable.
Yes. Find your tribe. Like, find somebody that is going to say, you cannot give up. You can do this. I think as an entrepreneur, you have to have that support system, whether you say it's like a husband or a wife or a girlfriend. Even, sometimes that was hard for parents to kind of get on your side, especially if they're not entrepreneur. Because if I've complained to my mom, she'd be like, well, just go back to work. I'm like, that's not the answer that I'm looking for, right? So you have to have someone that's really going to tell you, you can keep doing this, because entrepreneurship is such a mind battle. It's such a mental battle. Someone's going to have to build you up mentally. Seriously, like, the mind for entrepreneurship has to be so strong, because it'll be easy to say, I'm just going back to work. I'll let somebody else figure it out.
And don't waste your sacrifices.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
You said it.
Well, this has been a really good conversation. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Is there anything else that you would like to add or say? We've been talking for just about an hour.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah.
So if there's, I know it's very smooth.
I know, right? This was very easy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would just encourage everyone, if you guys need cleaning, if you guys are in the Atlanta area, look us up.
Where do we find you?
Yeah, so our website is www.themoxiemaids.com. And so another thing that we do too, we kind of bundle home cleaning with carpet cleaning. So that's something we added on too, because a lot of people didn't want to like call a house cleaning service and then like a carpet cleaning. So we kind of bundled that all together. Nice. So if you're like really like moving out of your house, if you have carpet, we can clean and then carpet clean all at the same time. So that's really convenient for folks. So you can look us up there. We're on Facebook and Instagram, all themoxiemaids.com. And my name is Stephanie Richardson Parker. You could look me up on Instagram at Steph Rich Parker. I believe that's the name. And look me up, answer me any questions. I'll be here. Yeah, I was going to say, people should ask you questions, because I don't know if you have any interest within like the next 20 years of being some sort of like public speaker or like entrepreneurship. But I think you could really, this has been one of my favorite episodes. You're really, really great to talk with. And I'm so glad you said that, because I told my husband, I'm a very behind the scenes person. Yeah. And I'm very uncomfortable kind of talking to people, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to get over that, which is kind of like I'm conquering this fear this year. And I told my husband, I'm like, I'm probably going to go on here and not know what to say. He's going to ask me my name. I'm going to stumble. I'm like, I don't like this. And he, again, pushed me. He was like, you know what you're talking about. Just go there and just tell them all the stuff that you tell me at night. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, and it's that simple. But it's the same thing with me. Like, one of the reasons I started this podcast was to get out of my comfort zone a little bit, because I'm usually super introverted. Yeah. And I'm like, this podcast is going to force me to talk to people that I've never met. Yes. And like, that's tough.
That's tough.
That's tough for me.
But it's so important to be able to do in business.
Yeah,
so I'm like,
it is. You have to be able to sell yourself. And I'm not like a natural like seller. Like, hi, I'm Stephanie. I own the cleaning company. That's not in my personality.
Yeah. Yeah. Salesman is not in my personality. I'm like usually too real with people.
Right.
I had a meeting with a guy the other day. He was like, we have him on a retainer agreement. And he was like, well, I'm thinking about pulling the agreement, or it was a tough conversation. And then I went in there and I was like, look, if your guy isn't going to market our videos that we're giving you, if he's not doing his job right, then you shouldn't be paying us. And I'm like firing myself for him. I know. But I'm like, I'm too real. Too real.
I've told people that. Like, there's this lady, she was talking about her cleaning. She's like, I have a cleaning service and they do all this for me and they do this. And, I know you, so I'm thinking about maybe using you. And I'm thinking, that cleaner might be the best option for you. Yeah. I'm like, you may want to stick with her because that's just the obvious. We may not fit with every client. And that's okay. I would tell people like, you may want to stick with that cleaner. She sounds great.
Yeah, totally. And to me, that's the best way to handle business. Right. So just being honest, being upfront. Yeah. Being real, and don't be the Fire Festival guy.
don't be Fire Festival.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much. And once again, happy birthday.
Thanks, guys.
I wish I had like a cupcake or something for you. But
no problem.
Happy birthday. And
thanks.
Yeah, I'll let you know when the episode's coming out.
Perfect.
And I'm going to cut little like micro content pieces out of this for sure, because there's a lot of really good content in this. So
perfect.
I'd love to have you on again.
Yeah.
Eventually. So
love it.
Perfect.
Thanks, guys.